7. We have 7 people out of 10, which is a quorum, so.
11.
Oh, 7 to 11, yeah.
There are 11 members, not 10.
Well, 7 out of 11 is still a quorum.
Sure. Okay, so for those of you who don't know who I am, and I think all of you do, my name is Joel Wolk, and I am a member of the community. I'm a retired owner's project manager. And what I'd like to do is I have here a sign-in sheet for the voting members.
Okay.
So can we pass that around? If you're a voting member, please initial it as being here. And for those of you that are not voting members, I have a second sign-in sheet, so if we could pass that around.
Okay.
And you sign into that, so you also know who's here. And Maureen Doherty has the agenda, and do you have one with you? Oh, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna
Thank you.
open the meeting. They want to do, Maureen wants to do a review of the open meeting law, so I think what we'll do is we're gonna do a tour of the high school first. I think we were talking about that.
Yep.
We decided that's a better way of doing it while it's still light, and then by the time we're done with the tour, which shouldn't take more than, what, 3 or 4 hours?
Oh.
Can't hear you, Bob.
There she
Okay,
is.
hi Maureen.
Hey, lady.
Okay, so
Do I get
why don't we
to keep
take the
the pen?
tour?
Do you want
We're
that?
gonna take the tour, and then we're gonna get
Oh,
started.
Otto Donald's popping Randall.
Can I ask, I come here for a specific reason, and I'd like to address the committee. I was on the building committee for the middle school, and a couple of things are bothering me here that I'd like to.
You know, this is only the second committee.
I know.
We haven't even gotten into any of the details of
I
it.
understand.
All we're doing right now is trying to select an owner's project manager.
That's part of the important part, probably the most important part of this project.
I think we all agree on that. Okay. Okay, so, let's go, Joel, you gonna lead the way?
Yeah, I will with Julie. Can I just give a quick background?
Go ahead.
The original building is a building
Hello.
built in 1923,
Yep,
second class construction. First edition 1952,
yep.
second edition 1955, third edition finished in 1965, D&E buildings. Total buildings square footage right now 195,000. The site acreage for the high school is approximately 20 acres. 91 classrooms, plus or minus. Grades 9 to 12. Anything I left out?
What did you say the total square footage was?
195,000.
That's actually in our,
Anybody, I have a few more drawings if anybody wants one, so you can follow along
Can
as
you
we.
give us some idea of what the different systems are?
As you.
MEP systems, so we have some idea of what.
Oh, well, let me go through and show you where the different buildings are. If you go to the second page, it's a little better because it shows. All right, so down here,
Joel, is this an actual one?
yep, help yourself. Down here, in this corner, can everybody see it?
Yep.
Is the original A building, what we call the A building. B building is the building in front here, this square. B building is here.
Mhm.
C building is the gym, locker room areas.
Mhm.
D building is the square building in the back, facing the fields.
Mhm.
Everybody can see that? And then E building is this area here where we're at.
So your document's different than ours, though.
No, it's
Second page. You gotta go to the next page.
Second page. Okay. A building includes the event, the
No,
outdoor
that's,
administration.
that's E.
Gee, we're in
A is over here.
Right there.
B is right there.
Got it.
C, D, E.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay? Everybody got that?
Page 2.
So this is, the A building basically is 4 stories. As you flip through, you'll see. A building is 4 stories. E building is 2. C and D are 3.
How many elevators?
1.
Is it in the 4-story building?
No,
Yeah.
no.
I don't
It's on
think you
the
had
opposite
elevators in
side.
the building.
I'm not sure they had electricity.
What kind of heating system is currently in the building now?
In the current building, again, as you look at the drawings, A, B, and C. A, B, and C buildings have a boiler room in A building, and it's steam heat. Also in that boiler room are the electrical transformers for the entire building. The electrical transformers feed
Thank you.
back across the front lawn. If this is the front lawn out here, so the transformers are in A building. We feed from there across here, underground, to E building, and feed D and E from the electrical transformers in the A boiler room. In E building is another boiler room that has boilers for D and E building. There's a hot water system. We have water feeds from both sides. Water feed coming into E building for D and E. We have a water feed into A for A, B, and C.
Building sprinklered?
No.
What's the age of the electrical infrastructure?
The electric is 50s.
From the 50s?
Yes,
All original.
original, yeah.
Pretty
But,
much,
yeah,
Okay, that should be interesting to look at.
most of the infrastructure for the PA, again, is original, but A building and part of B building was all, obviously, A building was a retrofit, B building, part of it was a retrofit. Then when they added D and E, that was also retrofitted again, so it's all piecemeal together. The electrical system, for the most part, at least when I got here, most of the classrooms had either 2 or 1 electrical outlets. Many of the classrooms down in D wing, the science rooms, and some of the classrooms in E do have gas service to them. It formerly was in the slab. We have started to, they started to leak, so we've started to move them overhead. But it's not the best deal to try to feed it down to the labs. So that's.
What about the fire alarm system?
Fire alarm system, we just replaced the panel 2 years ago. It's an addressable system. We put the addressable system back in 1993.
Is the wiring exposed or is it in the slab?
No, it's all exposed in conduit.
Yeah, it was a brand, yeah.
It was,
No, that's-
but it's, again, it's a retrofit,
That's
so,
definitely good
Not
news.
yeah.
Don't have to chop up slabs looking for fire alarm stuff,
No.
right?
Windows and roofs?
Roof is from 1988. It's, needs to be replaced. Estimated cost, last estimated cost we had was between $6 and $7 million.
That sounds about right.
Windows were replaced 95, 6, 7, something like that.
I think I read somewhere that the roof that's on there now has been placed over an existing tar and gravel roof,
It is. It was an EPDM that was put on in '88
okay?
with a 10-year warranty, and was placed over the original tar and gravel.
Okay, so any new roof is gonna have to replace both of those. You have to
It's
take
got to be a
them off.
total rip-off. Right,
Okay,
right. We'll walk through the gym. You'll see the size of the gym. See the size of the locker room.
All the classrooms are different sizes, for
Right.
the most part.
We'll
And
walk
and
through the guidance.
facilities in the gym, are Title IX, do they meet Title IX requirements in terms of equal for men, boys and girls?
Yes.
They do.
Mhm.
We squeeze it. We'll walk through the guidance suite. The guidance suite originally was 3 classrooms in B building. One of the first projects I did when I got here was to convert those classrooms to guidance.
The term suite is used loosely there.
Yes. We'll walk through the media center. The media center was originally the gym/cafeteria for the A building, and has now been converted, was converted years ago to the media center.
Nurse's office?
There is a clinic, well,
Very
very
small.
very
How
small
many-
clinic.
how-
That's actually in
Between B and D.
B and D,
Okay.
yeah.
How many nurses do you have?
We have one nurse, and then we also house the office for the district nurse coordinator.
Okay. Is that enough?
Is that enough nurses?
Yeah.
We need another one, but we don't have the space for her.
We also have a sports trainer.
Athletic trainer.
Her office is downstairs in the locker room, off the locker room.
Got it.
So that is where
Okay.
she's located.
And she's only here during her, pretty much after school hours.
Right.
What do you do for security in the school now? Do you have police presence?
We do, we have a school resource officer
School
full-time.
resource officer, do you have any other security people?
We have a hall monitor who walks the hallways during the school day.
Okay.
We have,
We just changed our sort of our protocols and procedures in terms of security, so the building is completely locked down during the school day.
Good, okay.
we have prox reading systems so that staff can get in with a prox reader. We have approximately 200 video cameras throughout the building,
Really? That's it.
inside and outside.
Wow, I was just gonna ask that.
Monitored at the high school office, and really, it's not monitored. They're
We use them
more,
when we need them.
yeah, they're
after
more
the
for
fact.
historical.
It's not a great system. It
No.
needs to be upgraded.
It does. It's an analog system. We're upgrading all the elementaries to digital, but we're holding off doing this building with the hope that we won't need to. Right.
How's clarity on it?
Not great.
Not very
does
good.
it hurt?
Not great.
Like 30 days.
It depends on they're all based on motion, so if you've got a lot of movement within the building, then your
Right.
storage capacity is
The last
reduced.
high school I renovated, they ended up putting in a security, points for a security camera. Not everywhere, a security camera, so that the high school had the flexibility over time to put it in one place or another place or right. That worked out very well. It was a very inexpensive thing to do. Okay,
And it tapped into the current one that was already the pre-existing one?
I'm sorry?
Did it tap into the pre-existing?
No, we renovated, it was a brand new
Oh,
system.
you should total renovation.
But it was
Okay.
built to grow.
Yeah.
It was built to put
That's the key.
something like 350 cameras on it.
Okay.
Actually,
You gotta build it.
You don't put,
to-
in other words, you put in the mounting hardware, if you will, but
Right.
you don't necessarily put in the camera.
Gotcha.
Right.
And then if you say, well, there's more issues going on over here, let's move the camera from there.
Yeah,
Right,
to
that
that
sounds
side
good.
or
It's like
move it around.
buses, we put one camera in a bus, and then, well, it's
Mhm.
not that bus, it's this bus, we move the camera there.
That works out, that worked out great.
The other thing that's here is the network servers for the entire district, and the phone system for the entire district, and in fact, the phone system for the entire town, and many of the switches, and don't ask me what these switches do, but all I know is when they go down, everybody in town calls and swears. So those are all here too. So that's all part of the infrastructure here with the high school.
Okay.
All right, so, you want to take a
Has
walk?
everybody initialed my sign sheet?
No, I have not seen the sign-in sheet.
Yeah. Has everybody signed this?
Coming back to order, the committee took things out of, I apologize to the committee for being a little late. I was hung up at work, won't happen again, I promise. We took things out of order, I see, went on the tour first because of the light. And now we're at item 2, review of the open meeting law.
I just,
Maureen, if you could.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, sorry.
I have some handouts for people just on the open meeting law guide. Some people are new to, serving on a public committee. We are subject to the open meeting law. One of the things that's, fairly new that people might not be aware of is
You
if
don't, you
somebody
need one,
sends
you
out
want
an
to
email,
refresh? You should
and it goes
refresh.
out to an email,
about the open meeting.
that it's important, if you have a comment on something, just respond back to the sender, don't hit reply all, because that's something that could be considered, a deliberation outside of the open meeting. So just little housekeeping measures. This book is, very good, very easy to read, and I think it would be a useful guide for anybody who's new to serving on a public committee. And if you wanted more information, you can just go to mass.gov and type in open meeting law. They have different trainings and webinars if you wanted to do that as well. That's it.
Great. Moving on, review and approval of the minutes of August 28th and 21st. 21st was this committee meeting, and the 28th was a subcommittee meeting of the English project manager.
Probably done separately.
Yep. So if everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes, is there a motion in connection with the August 21st?
I move to approve, TJ.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor of
Mike,
approval of
is
those
that you?
minutes?
Yep.
Aye.
And the August 28th minutes?
I think on the,
Who's there? I was not.
21st.
I have to abstain.
Okay.
On the 28th, I think you have to take over.
I
subcommittee.
was running the 28th meeting, so, okay, so on the meeting of the 28th, and let's see, you were there?
I wasn't.
No, you weren't there, you were there,
Yeah.
I was there,
I
you
was
were there,
there.
Rick.
Yep.
And
I was there.
was-
Right.
So motion to approve?
Yeah, we have motion
Second.
approved on the 28th.
Second.
Thanks, Rick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thanks, Pat.
Great. Subcommittee report for the progress request services of an owner's project manager. Joel, if you could.
All right, I have passed around this, I think everybody has seen it. I sent it to you, Dr. Brown, okay? Just to go over it again, those of us who aren't on the subcommittee, the material that's in black is the template that was given to us by the MSBA, which we're required to use. And the material in red is what we have put in to customize it for this particular project. Okay, so I did get some comments, Roberta. I
Yes.
think you said a comment that the estimated total project cost of an approved potential project may range from 75 million to 100 million, and you thought the lower end should be lower.
Correct.
I don't have any problem with that. Anybody else?
No, makes sense.
Okay, about 25 million, you want
Mhm.
to do that? All right, we can make that change. Okay, and Roberta, I'm sorry if I didn't
That's
bring your email
fine.
with me.
That's okay.
I think the other thing that we were talking about is,
Description.
195,000.
That was just a question. I didn't understand, then it said 205. I didn't know what you were
I'll
trying
explain
to
to you how I
say.
came up with the 205.
Yeah.
Okay, the agreed upon enrollment for this project is 1,065 students. If you take a look at the MSBA regulations.
Okay, square foot per,
They give you so many
okay.
square feet per student, and that calculates out to
Okay,
about
that you answered my question.
205,000.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually brought an old version with me, I hope you've got a newer version.
Oh, yep.
And let me borrow yours, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
No, it's
I thought I grabbed the right one. Okay, so, we're all set on that, Roberta?
On that one, right?
Okay, were there any other questions, comments, or otherwise? Oh, you were talking about buildings A, B, and C?
Yeah, when you're describing the school,
Right.
I'm trying to be, I don't know Stoughton, I know nothing. I read that, like I said, I don't consider B, C, D, and E building minor additions to A.
Okay.
And that's, my question is, so there's nothing wrong with those other it just seems like it's focused, it's the whole building is A, the whole school is A building, and there's all these things wrong with
Well, I'm
it.
gonna admit to plagiarism here.
Okay.
I actually took that entire paragraph out of the statement of interest,
Okay,
as it was written.
okay.
Now, we can change this.
That's fine then, that's
And
fine.
instead of
I'm
saying-
just, if I'm looking for the job, I just, kinda may
Well,
wanna,
how about if we just take out the word minor?
that's
And just
fine.
say, has had a number of additions or
Yeah,
renovations
I mean,
since
because
then.
they're not minor,
Okay, fine, we'll just take out the word minor.
yeah.
Okay,
And then my other issue was the advertising. I don't understand why would even be put in the Enterprise of the Journal.
I'll have to let you.
Well,
Is that something that,
Well, it has, it's actually, we'll have to go in the central register.
right,
I'm going to get trained on combis next week, actually, signed up on combis, which is the state procurement, thing, so that it can reach wider. And the MSBA requires that it goes in multiple newspapers. What
Okay.
their, goal is that they want us to reach a very diverse population. So if it was only, say, in the Stoughton Journal, it would only reach very small
Right,
people.
so all right.
So they want us to prove, and we have to give proof of advertising, that we had advertised in areas that have a very wide and diverse population so that it encourages
So would you,
participation.
I would suggest in the Boston Globe.
We don't have, people wouldn't necessarily, might not necessarily look in the Boston Globe. The people who look in the Boston Globe would probably go to the Central Register.
Right, okay, I guess I
Right.
just thought that would be good enough, but obviously.
I think I agree with you that we're following what the MSBA wants us to do and the state wants us to do,
Mhm.
but realistically, being in the business,
Mhm.
nobody.
Exactly,
else in the
yeah,
business.
exactly.
And
They
the
all look
Boston,
at the Central Register.
the Boston
Right.
Globe is probably a $500 ad versus
Yeah,
the
right.
Enterprise,
Mhm.
which is about a $35 ad.
Or, something like that.
Right, and they want us to really try to get people from our
Mhm.
geographic
Mhm.
area.
Okay, that's fine,
You all set, ma'am?
that's fine.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments before I get on to the next thing?
I do actually have a comment. We did have a town meeting rep come in, and he was here earlier but was unable to stay. He had concern that he wanted to make sure that the firm that we hired has technical expertise, like people with electrical, HVAC, training like that, because he wanted to know that we had some hands-on people that truly understood the building components. So I didn't know if that's something that we could add in there.
Well, I know a bunch of the people that are gonna be applying here, and very few of them have that type of expertise. If we ask for it, they will all go out and hire another engineer to be their sub-consultant.
Just to cover that,
Okay.
right?
Okay, and I don't know if that's really gonna benefit us. The real test for all of the facility stuff has to be with the architect. And they have to just have engineers that are able to communicate.
I think what his concern was too, that the facilities committee, who is working on the system side, would also be involved in this project to some degree. You know, at least as a committee that some of the items, once we got into it, would be referred to, or they were kept in the loop, if you will.
Well, I can understand that, and at some point in time, when we select somebody and Marina's negotiating a contract, we put in a whole bunch of these little concepts saying you will have to meet with the facilities committee so many times, the school committee so
Well,
many
would
times.
we put that in the RFS now?
I don't know if it's gonna make any difference.
Not really for the OPM. That
Yeah,
would
this
be
is
more for
really
the
a question of
designer.
qualifications.
Oh, all right, for the design.
Right.
For the designer, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
I
we've
just
kind of all
wanted-
given our opinion. Is there anybody else
Yeah.
who feels one way or the other on this?
Once the OPM is on board, we basically can tell him to do whatever we want to tell him.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well,
Good luck
people
with
that
that.
are gun shy about ombudsman, so maybe they're viewing this as that, because we have buildings in town that have really gone south.
Yeah.
Relative to Maureen's comments, as the person who reviewed the people who applied to be on the committee, there were a number of people who had expertise in the building trades, who would have liked to have served. But given the constraints placed upon the community by the school building authority, who could be appointed and who couldn't be appointed, and the size of committee the selectmen chose, which was only 11 members, there were a lot of people who probably have something to offer. And one thing I think this committee is gonna have to consider in the long run, once you have an OPM on board, and probably the architect, is do you wanna convene a panel of experts to advise you, essentially? And I think that's partially where the town meeting member that Maureen is talking about is coming from.
Well,
This
you do
also
have
came
the
up-
option of saying that whoever applies must have the qualification of having this particular set of
Yeah.
things, but I think that's really gonna,
Hmm.
all they're really gonna do is basically find another engineer to come in here
And just subcontract,
and
Yeah.
subcontract it out, and I just don't know if it's right.
Now, I
Yeah, I
think
think-
what we're talking here, Joel, and because it came up at the selectmen's meeting also, is we're talking about citizens of Stoughton,
Right,
not professional firms and somebody hiring somebody on a subcontracting basis. We're talking about the potential for a panel of citizen experts to advise this group of citizens who
I think
have
that's
been
a-
charged with the
I think
responsibility.
that's a great idea, and frankly, when the drawings start coming out, we're gonna have to send it around for comment, and if we have a panel like that, who can take a look at the drawings, especially during the phase where we're doing the feasibility study, that would probably be the best thing.
But, and I bring it up because my reading of the statute and my reading of the board's charge to this committee is that it's your call, meaning the committee's call. It's not my call, it's not the selectmen's call, it is the building committee's call.
One of the comments that I received from the gentleman who actually appeared before the board the other night was that it was a concern that this committee isn't necessarily stacked with people vested in the community. It's employees from the town and others who, although they work here, they go home to other communities at night. And it's a genuine concern that I don't discount, so I wouldn't be averse to a subcommittee of that.
And what would be the role of the subcommittee?
Only review.
Yeah.
Advisory.
I guess it's,
Review and advise.
kind of depends on.
Which is
on
essentially
we
what you
wanna
guys
do
are doing
something.
anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, but it gets a little more detailed. I mean, in the past, I've called up like a mechanical contractor I know, and I say, look, we're coming up with this type of system, what do you think? And he might say something like, I make a lot of money on these because they're replaced all the time. I mean,
But I think the concern, quite frankly, is that, given the town's history with other building projects,
Yeah, right.
that is the concern. We have a tendency to not build the best buildings that you can have, and they become problematic the day that the certificate of occupancy is issued. And that's the concern on the part of some of these folks.
all I can do is advise you that, at least in my experience on school buildings, that the owner's project manager, especially the ones that are going after this project, have that ability to take a look at those concerns, because that's what they do in other municipalities. And the architect that the MSBA chooses, I can guarantee you, the MSBA will choose an architect that will make sure that the building is designed in accordance with the best interest of the town. I can't really say any more than that, so.
Can I make a comment? I think that other committee is a great idea. At Southeastern, we had the luxury of having professionals teaching the students. So the superintendent could take this, show it to the HVAC teacher, show it to this HVAC teacher, scratch their heads and say, we know, we don't have that luxury. And if you have a bunch of professional people who are HVAC, whatever it is, looking at this, right, I'm not an architect. I don't say that I am an architect. I understand these plans perfectly, but you need people, none of us are experts, I don't think, in any of these fields. When it comes to the actual building, the steel, the gauge of the steel, whatever it may be. So I don't think it's a bad,
It's not just the systems either. I mean, there's nothing wrong having another committee of educators to review the educational spaces coming from kindergarten up to high school to see what they're getting and what they need and what the future will be. So, I mean, it may be more than one small advisory committee that we ask for.
Now, one of the things that the Inspector General has put into their manual of building construction for municipalities, and which I've actually used, I think, once, is they often recommend that a committee like this put in their budget the ability to hire another architect to do a peer review, which I actually did in Boston on a couple of schools. And what the peer review architect does is basically is another architect who's done schools in other parts of the state or something, come in there and take a look at the design and come back with their comments as to the quality of the design and whether or not it's good or bad, or has everything been looked at. So we have that ability to put that in our budget, and we can go ahead and get somebody like that if we're so interested in doing so.
I think it's a wise move to do what some of the recommendations have been. If we're gonna have to take this and sell it to the community, I
Right.
think bringing in more people that want an interest and wanna be a part of it.
With the
will only
understanding
get-
that there's no guarantee we're gonna take what they're telling us to do.
But, yeah,
and
I
it gotta,
agree.
and it gotta move along.
Yeah,
Right.
as
You
long as
can't be
it's not
dragging the
stalling-
heels.
As long as they're not stalling the process, I can see that, otherwise, what's the purpose?
I understand, yeah.
Right, but it can be something that.
Committees
they
can
be
delay
advised
business.
Yeah,
to
they just,
different-
sometimes
to
they delay
different
them.
groups.
Just remember that when we get the owner's project manager on board, he's basically our staff guy.
Yep.
Why don't we, later on the agenda, we're discussing future agenda items, why don't we put that on, the scope of what a subcommittee would do? Maybe the
And be very
composition
clear,
of it?
teach it very, very
Yeah,
clear.
well, I wouldn't want 15 people,
No.
but maybe 5. That's
Well-
my own opinion.
Well, and again, more than one committee. I mean,
Yeah, right.
At different times.
an
On
advisory,
trades or
advisory,
whatever.
I mean, we've
One
got
on educators.
systems, education, community,
Hiring a peer review
you know, what,
Well,
I
and
mean,
that's something
Well, it's an
that,
architect or an engineer.
but I mean, we were talking about outside groups using the
Mhm.
facilities.
Peer review would
We,
be the
you know,
worst part.
that,
I don't know.
is there a way that
We
we can
didn't-
I mean, you
sell
guys had in-house
the
staff.
facility
I didn't.
to outside groups if we
I don't know
change
why
our
you
design a
need
little bit?
education. I don't understand why you need an
well, it's
educational
something
review.
that they won't be coming on for quite some time anyway.
Right.
So we have a lot of time to mull over what might be good, because if we're just getting the OPM on and we're
It's just
doing
gonna be
feasibility
volunteers
study,
though, would be
that's
people
well
like us
before
doing it.
sign.
Yeah.
I'll get a lot of people wanna do it.
Great. If we're all done with,
Well,
subcommittee report. Oh, Joe, I'm
Oh.
sorry. Continue.
Yeah, there's still one item that we kind of have to address, and we addressed it at our subcommittee meeting. And I don't think we ever came to the final conclusion, and that's, I'm calling this attachment E, which is the OPM evaluation matrix.
What page you have
I was
this?
just looking at
Well, this is, if the handout that Maureen gave us, it's
Okay.
about Yates
I
Group.
think, yeah, I think.
The handout I stole from you, Maureen.
See?
It's called attachment E, the senior high, Stoughton High School OPM evaluation
It's after
matrix.
page 20, if you're going down electronically.
Yes, it's after page 20. It's a spreadsheet. She put it in there. There it is.
Oh, I had.
Okay. Now, the reason I bring this up is, and we were talking about this in our subcommittee meeting, this is kind of the critical item that we have to put in here, because what it does is we're telling the people who are gonna be responders, that this is how we value certain aspects of their response. For example, experience on MSBA-funded school projects. I have here a weight factor of 15. Should it be a weight factor higher than that, lower than that? Should it be an equal weight factor to whether or not they've had legal problems or not had legal problems? This is really a critical item, because this is gonna dictate as to what the top responses are when they come in for us to interview. Okay, so,
And you took these numbers from experience, what you've
I
seen
took
in
it
other
from
places?
experience,
Okay, right,
and
that's a question.
some of them I basically made up. Okay, and one of them I don't even have a number for, which is legal actions, because this came up at our subcommittee meeting.
Right.
And we decided, I also, by the way, I don't know if you saw that, I included that in there, the legal actions thing, okay? So this is gonna be legal actions, and the question is, one of the things that came up in our subcommittee was kind of interesting, I think you brought it up, Rick, and said that if somebody fails one of these things, in other words, if they say management approach, they don't give you one, and they get a 0, do we automatically eliminate them? And for something like a management approach, the answer is probably not, but then the question came up on legal actions. If you have somebody come in here and say, oh yeah, we were thrown off a project 4 years ago, what kind of weight do we give that?
State's not gonna recommend them anyways.
Well, no, it's got nothing to do with the state. Well, it does. The MSBA has to approve the OPM. To the best of my knowledge, no OPM has ever been thrown off a project unless you can think of one.
No.
No. At least none
I
of
can
them
think of
was.
some that should have been.
That's
Right,
right.
and, right, there could have been people on the brink of it, and then they
So can I, actually.
smartened up and,
So,
Okay,
so the
so-
question is, how much weight are you gonna put on this?
Right, okay, so if you add up all my weight factors, it adds up to 100. But
Mm-hmm.
you can make them add up to 1,000, you can do it any way you wanna do it, you can make them add up to, I don't know how you wanna do it. But
Mm-hmm.
this is really important for this committee. We have to decide as a group, what's the most important thing we're looking at? And the two things that I came up with was the experience in MSBA-funded school projects, and the other thing I came up with was the experience and the skills of the key personnel. Those would be the two most important things that we would want to see on this particular, for this particular project. Second, in a second tier is experience in other school public projects, experience with phase renovations. Julia, we were talking about that in case we come to that. We don't want to have somebody who's never done a phase project before in case we decide to go that route. Okay, and you know what that's like, don't you? Yes, okay. The management approach, experience with CM at risk, which you also had down in Southeast, that type of thing. And then the smaller ones, in terms of importance, I had experience and skills with mass chips. Doesn't have to be that much, it's the architect that actually really manages mass chips for a project, at least the ones I've been on. Experience with life cycle cost and value engineering. Once again, the architects estimators and the estimators, most of these guys can do this. Experience with building commissioning services, the MSBA put that in there, I always get a little confused. The answer is all of the guys that are gonna apply have worked with building commissioning services. Okay, so I put them down minor. And I'm not even sure how to evaluate experience with building commissioning services. What do they do, come in and say, yeah, we did it once, but we didn't like it? No one really knows. So I put them as 5 points each for the minor ones, and then legal actions, and we can go over 100. I don't know, Rick, you were the one that brought this up. What do you think the weight should be on the legal actions?
It's gotta be, case specific, we don't know, it'd have to depend on what it was, I would think. I don't know that you can broadly say that if there was a specific legal action. And circumstance, certainly.
I mean, I look at it this way, the subcommittee's gonna have a gut feeling. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna
At
go
some
through
point
all
in
the,
time,
and you're
yeah.
gonna say, I like this guy, I like this girl, you're gonna
don't.
hash it out, and your gut gotta tell you something. So all the scoring and all it comes down to, four of us like this person, we really
Well,
like this,
The
you
subcommittee, when
know?
we start, is really gonna be evaluating the proposals and
You're
coming
right,
up with
yeah.
this point system. They're gonna select anywhere from 3 to maybe, who knows, 8. I don't know how many. But let's say 3 to 5, okay? So let's say we decide to interview 5. But you're correct. When those 5 come in, and we recommended that the entire committee participate in the interviews, not just the subcommittee. You're right. You're gonna sit there and say, does this guy know what he's talking about? Are we gonna be able to work with him for the next 3.5 years?
And are we gonna have an assessment tool to assess these things?
Well, that's interesting. The town manager and I have reached a,
We have philosophical.
we have
differences.
philosophical difference of opinion on
So
that.
you, assessment tool, no assessment tool?
Well, it's
With the
the
gut
it's
feeling?
the other way around.
He thinks I'm more nitpicky, basically.
Oh.
Okay.
Dr. Brown, the way I've done it in the past is, and I've been on building committees in the past, is you interview, say, 3, and then you go to each member and you ask them to rank them 1, 2, and 3. And then you take a look at the rankings, okay?
And my approach is absolute,
See, I'm absolute.
which means I don't rank compared to the others. Some don't make the grade at all. I just
I
throw
want
them
this
out,
guy,
period.
yeah, yeah.
Well, we have about a month and a half to solve
To go
that
back and
problem.
We'll figure it out.
Are these fixed categories?
Yes, the MSBA actually puts them in.
And this is
Okay.
all their categories.
This is all their categories.
We can
plus
add, we can add
Including
to.
the
The
legal?
one I added was legal.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I'm surprised I didn't see anything about references.
Oh, well, references, they already state references. You have to give references, but
Okay.
TJ, normally what happens
Because
is.
that would cover
It's
legal,
not
is my
scored.
point.
Yeah,
I mean, I imagine they couldn't get if we checked all their references, they wouldn't get good references from.
well, that's
but
what,
it's not,
the
it's
way
not
it
weighted.
They're only gonna
goes,
give
if we
their good
select
ones, right.
5 to interview,
Mm-hmm.
what we'll probably end up doing is, between members of the committee, say, okay, you guys
little
take a look
research.
at this guy, you guys take a look at this guy, we're gonna make calls.
Mhm.
You're gonna call principals, you're gonna call principals, Dr. Rizzi's gonna call superintendents, you may call superintendents. I'm gonna call architects and contractors that have worked with these guys to find out what they're like. And that's how we'll get the references.
Okay.
We'll take some of the references from what they publish, and we'll take some references with them that they don't publish, but I happen to know about.
Yeah, and I'm not giving weight to references, although, everybody has their different experiences and those are all subjective. But I guess my point is, my question is that, if this is like a bid, or if this is like a bid and someone has a challenge, all things being equal, and references put people over the top, they're not weighted at all, and I don't care that they are or aren't, but as long as we have discretion to within the weighting system, because frankly, I could see 2 people coming out with exactly the same, given even numbers of 5s, which happens quite often when you weight in that.
This is
I
the gut-
think you're
this is where the gut
correct,
thing comes in.
and
Yeah.
that's why the first go around with the points is just to separate out the wheat from the
Okay.
chaff.
Mhm.
Perfect, answers my question.
Oh, she's a
Exactly.
former math teacher, so I can't go with her.
Right.
Wheat from the chaff.
Yeah, that's great.
And then, if you take a look, if you've had a time to take a look, and this is a form that Maureen and I are unfortunately very familiar with,
Yeah.
is actually a form
Everything's
attached
public.
that's required for all MSBA. The MSBA requires for all OPMs, they have to fill out this form that lists all their projects, it lists all their references, who was in charge, who can you call to talk to, who was the superintendent at the time, who was the principal of the school at the time. All that information is given to us, and if we go through that in the course of coming up with our points, and we take a look at it, we find that there are no references, but there have to be references. These guys all have references. Michael is right, some of these guys, they should have been thrown off projects, okay? But we probably know the same people, and actually Maureen and I know somebody, so, okay?
So are you looking for a motion to approve the form?
Well, I need something so that we can go ahead and publish this.
I think
I
it's
think the
fine.
first thing you want is whether or not people want to include the legal, correct?
Well, that was, the subcommittee came up with that.
I mean,
We
that's where
agreed
you
on that.
started.
We agreed on the fact that we would include legal,
Just how
and
many
all we have to
points?
do is give it some kind of
We're gonna
point
lie.
into
We're
Didn't
gonna
we also
lie.
talk at the meeting about trying to define current and projected workload and financial stability, like how to judge those?
Yes,
Can we talk about that?
and I think the way I wrote it up, let me go back, how did I write that?
In other,
Oh, I didn't put
in-
anything
Oh,
in
you
there.
did, we
What did I
didn't
put down?
define that, that was, there
That was
is-
one we couldn't define, really.
Right, and that's the problem that I've seen in the past with some of these scores is you start scoring and you get so confused that when somebody says, well, why did you score this person that way? You go back and you can't explain it.
Well, I have to say, because I'm a stickler for the rules,
Glad you brought that up.
the MSBA publishes a really nice guideline that we have to follow
Okay.
for a project of this magnitude.
Okay.
So it's very definitive. I have to write a narrative because it has to come from the procurement officer. We have to write a narrative on the scoring,
That's right.
why we came up with that scoring, so that during this process that we need to take good notes and justify why we came to it. So if on, experience over how many, projects that they've done, if they've done 6, and they say, oh, my 6 projects, we've only done renovations.
Mhm.
Under the accelerated plans, we haven't done any full projects, that, maybe they did 6 projects, but not 6 projects that are weighted to us, so we would justify and say, well, this is why we didn't rate them, the full 10, because even though they had 6 projects, they weren't of equal magnitude as
Okay.
what we're looking at.
Right,
Okay.
and when we had our subcommittee meeting, one of the things we were looking at was what constitutes qualified.
Right.
Okay, and we came up with our definitions of, for example, experience on MSBA-funded school projects, completed at least 3 projects from feasibility study to close out over the last 5 years. That would make them qualified. If they did 6 projects, we made it think that they would get a higher score. If they did only 1 project, they would get a lower score. If, as Maureen says, they've never done a whole project, they would get a 0 score.
Right.
So each one of us scores, those 3 candidates, 5 candidates come before us, and I'm sitting here scoring the sheet, no?
You're gonna get a pile of 15 of these things, they're
Right.
about yay
Okay.
high, okay? It's gonna drive your family crazy, all right? And you're gonna sit there and you're gonna go through each one, and each one of them will have a scoring sheet with it, and as you go through each one, you're gonna think about it and take a look at the scoring sheet, this thing here, and you're gonna put down a score. And then the subcommittee is gonna meet, and we're gonna go spend a long time, we're gonna go over each one, and we're gonna go over everybody's scores and what we agree and don't agree on. And if we haven't, Maureen and I have been in situations where we've not agreed entirely on certain things. So we go back and forth until finally the subcommittee comes back with the final scoring.
Okay.
That scoring will determine who's gonna be called in for an interview.
Right.
Okay, when we call them in for an interview, the subcommittee is gonna have to meet and come up with its preliminary ideas about what the criteria is for an interview. One of the things that happens that Maureen and I have done is that you come up with like 5 questions that you ask all the people that are being interviewed, so you can compare their answers to the questions. And we've got some interesting answers
Answers are-
sometimes.
Yeah, that's a standard interview technique.
Right.
But to Ms. Miller's point, she asked about how do we evaluate their ability to manage multiple projects or priorities at the same time. And I really tried to work on a visual for this, and I'll finish it up and send it out, but really it's just a stacked bar gram based on the projects that they've had with timelines and the future projects that they have in the pipe, and each one of those was a reference. So if you get references and you see it, because we're not gonna get everybody, those aren't all gonna be referenceable, you're gonna see where they broke. if they did indeed break, based on the density of what the cluster of projects they had at the time the managed was. And they're different, because some are replacing windows, I'm building a new building, I'm putting an addition, whatever it might be. So you're gonna have to weight that degree against, again, the,
You're gonna
sort
have
of
some
weight of all
guys that are
projects.
gonna come in and they're gonna be perfectly qualified, but they really only have the ability to run maybe 3 projects at the same time. And they're right now running 2, and this will be their 3rd, and, so forth and so on. Unless they wanna go to a 4th project, they might have to pick up people. You're gonna get other people come in, I'll give you for an example, Hill International, which is a mega company, and they're gonna come in and say, well, we can handle 85 projects at the same time, because we're an international
ability to,
firm,
yeah.
okay, but we don't care about their Boston office. So we gotta take a look, but we were discussing this at the subcommittee meeting, it's very hard to make a call, is it 3 projects, is it 5 projects? I think the only way you can really look at it is to see how many projects they handle like you say on the references. If in the past, they've always handled 3 to 4 projects, and this will be part of their 3 to 4 projects, that's fine. If in the past, they've only handled 2 projects, and we're going up to 3, and suddenly they picked up another one, they go up to 4 or 5, then we probably have second thoughts.
And financially, will we be able to hold it? I mean, cause if we're gonna be paying in portions,
Yes.
how much money we giving up front, and how, will they be able to hold those to get the payment?
We don't give any money up front.
The
Well,
other
I can
issue,
build the
Then we
tool
gotta
in the
see if they have
visual
it.
if people want to say, I'm gonna do it anyway.
right, but
If you- I mean,
but the
will.
other issue, and as part of that, I mean, and again, looking at the number of projects is nice, but you also have to build in the size of the projects. I mean,
Right.
if a company is coming in saying, we're doing 4 projects, and they are 4 projects at $250 million each, versus the next company that comes in and says, yeah, we're doing 8 projects, but they're
$30 million bucks, $30 million.
$5 million each.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like
I
that.
mean, and that's, using Hill International as an example, they're doing a roof project for us for $1.3 million, and they're also at UMass
Right?
doing a full
A building,
renovation in
yeah.
addition to a building at $250 million.
Yeah.
And they've got a
So-
couple of schools that, like ours, that are currently in construction right now.
So they're,
Are they too spread out? That's the question.
well, but I mean, they've got 9 offices and they're worldwide. So, I mean, versus,
Getting off
I don't
some.
know, what do you think? Is there something we could put in there that we could use as a reference or a
That we
criteria?
want them to fill out as part of their response?
I think if we're gonna ask them for each of the projects they're involved with, there's gotta be some standard criteria that we can compare across all of them.
Anybody, yeah.
Right.
So what was the size, what was the scale, what was the timeline?
Can we say something like the average number of projects being worked on over the last 3 years is a consistent number?
Well, I think it goes back to the average number of projects doesn't tell us a lot.
No, I mean,
What does it really matter in the whole
Any
scope of
ideas,
things?
Maureen?
You
I
scare
don't-
away people.
I know
Bid.
it didn't print out correctly in the back, it's the application processing, it has to be tweaked, it doesn't
We leave
come
it
out
like that, we don't.
correctly in this format, but
There are a lot of
is it
questions.
something in this
There's already a lot of
where
questions.
in the
Can't
back,
send
let's
more
say on
to the-
page 15 of 20, if you look in the back of the handouts, that it asks you past performance, list of complete of all projects in excess of 1.5
Right,
million.
right.
Is this something, Rick, if you wanna look at this further, and I can
This one
send,
Yeah.
I can send
Yeah.
out
Okay.
the correct formatted one on this, if that's something you wanna look at and see if that meets your matrix, and that if all the information in here would be adequate.
Yeah, I see completion date, but start date and completion date would be good.
Or we could just leave it blank.
thank you.
And just take a look at them and then discuss this among ourselves as a subcommittee.
But they should fill this in.
If they can fill it in,
They have
it's
to
more
fill it.
detail.
They have to fill it in, but I'm just asking if.
I think it'd be great. Yep,
I'll send that to you.
thanks.
All right, so let's go back to a couple things. Financial stability, we agreed that we would put in a comment that this would be evaluated by either the town accountant or the town auditor. So we'll just leave it at that. Okay, if the town accountant comes back and says, I took a look at their financials and they're gonna go bankrupt in a year, it'd be nice to know that.
Not the accountant.
All right, the town auditor would be.
Well, it depends upon how you define the town auditor.
The internal
I
auditor.
mean, if you're meaning the internal auditor, yes.
Somebody
If you're
who,
meaning our external auditor, then that
No.
means we have a budgetary problem, because we'll
Right.
have to pay them to do it.
no, I'm
Be
looking
a
for
town
somebody.
employee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
I
it would be,
understand.
in terms of the way our system works, I'm gonna have an easier time getting her to make time than I am the town accountant, because the town accountant will have to take something he's currently doing and back burner it.
All right, so we can put down to be reviewed by, will be evaluated by Stoughton, in-house auditor?
Well, that's something that we
Internal
do.
auditor.
Yeah.
Do you have to put that in?
At some
I
point.
think we ought to put it in so that they know that it's not something that's gonna be
Oh,
pushed aside.
We can just say it doesn't have to be internal auditor, we can just say it's
Re-
being reviewed
by-
internally.
Reviewed
Internally.
internally, okay, I like
Internal
that.
financial experts.
That's a good way of saying it.
That's a lot of pressure on us.
No, we can do it.
And back on the evaluation, I gave this out on the first meeting, the, owner's project manager selection. People want me to send this out
Please.
again, so that they can get a view and realize there's a lot of steps
Mhm.
that we have to
Sounds
do.
good.
Okay, and I think, the last item that, well, we have the full committee, we talked about this in the subcommittee, but, we put a couple of these things in, but I think I'd like to bring it up. Project objectives under consideration by the owner include, and I'll tell you what they are.
Okay.
Provide a secure and structurally sound building for the health and safety of the students and maintain the NEASC accreditation for the school.
Mm-hmm,
Joel, give us a page
Yeah,
number.
I'm-
Page 2 of 20.
thank you.
You got that? Oh, I guess some of you have them here already. Enhance security of the building for students, faculty, staff, and visitors. The school should be available for community use during non-school hours. I think we brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
Reduction of operating, maintenance, and replacement costs in future years. He actually yelled at me with that one. Current and anticipated educational requirements must be met with maximum application of technology. I think that's what we said, isn't it? That wasn't quite, that kind of was an interpretation on my part. And another objective is to meet the guidelines and requirements of the Massachusetts High Performance Green Schools, Mass CHIPS, and the Massachusetts Stretch Energy Code. Are we all okay with those objectives?
Oh, this makes it safer for students, from what I'm seeing from this perspective. It makes it safe for students.
I hope so.
Yes, that, it looks good to me.
Okay? All right, so that way, whoever we get knows that these are the objectives that the town of
Mhm.
Stoughton is looking to accomplish. All right, TJ, I don't know what you want to do here. Can we bring this to a closure? I'd like to be able to get this out in the next, I think, 7 days.
Do we need to
Wanna
make a
advertise it
motion
on
to accept
Tuesday?
that? or
Next
not?
week?
I have to tweak it a little to make sure that we put it in, the town's format. One of the things that I was gonna change is how I was.
To make it page 2.
Oh,
please.
sure.
And that's just a formatting thing to say, we want this, section 1, section 2, section 3, so we're
Thank you.
not.
I'll leave that up to you, that's fine. I wasn't sure how you wanted to do that.
I'm in the middle of a bunch of DPW bids right now. I'm not sure if I'll get it out next Tuesday, the following.
Okay, well, right now, I've kind of got the scheduling here set up so that we have somebody selected by the 11th of November, 10th of November. You tell me when you're ready to send it out,
Who's
and
the
I will,
special town meeting for that?
I will change the schedule,
Okay.
okay, so that it corresponds to whatever.
Is that it?
Back
Oh.
into it.
So you don't need review of a final. We're good with this final, with your comments?
Right, this is the
I mean,
final.
If everybody is okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably wise if we entertain a motion to accept the,
I think actually Roberta made one, it just wasn't second.
Right, I did.
Second.
all right, TJ, what did you actually say?
well, I.
Motion to accept this version?
Yeah,
Accept this
accept.
version of the evaluation criteria for the owner's project manager, which,
Can I back,
Which
before
was
we
reversed.
vote, legal actions, we still haven't come up with a number. Can somebody just, I'm gonna say 5.
I was gonna say 5 also.
So
Okay.
our total criteria is 105.
5, yeah.
Say
Yeah.
2.5.
Yeah,
Okay.
2.3.
oh, I didn't go.
2.3, thank you.
Are you just carrying all the attorneys here?
I thought we were looking to reach 100. I was
Yeah.
wondering where that deal from.
No, that's okay.
Just
People
reference
pay
all the
twice.
official experts in town.
Just stick 5 in there for legal.
All right, so we'll put a 5 in there for that. So is the motion to accept not only the evaluation sheet, but also this particular,
Rubik, yeah,
RFS?
whatever,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna say motion to accept the RFS as we amended at this meeting?
Yes.
And I second it.
Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Excellent.
Future agenda items.
Okay, before we get into that, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Just one other
sorry.
item here.
Just going right down the list.
I know, but this is also part of this, and we actually brought this up in the subcommittee, and I just wanna bring it up as a note for this committee.
Okay.
This particular RFS has in it a contract. The contract is the MSBA contract. Right now, Maureen and I intend on using that as the base contract?
Yep.
Or are we going to alter it at all?
I'll talk to Mike about that. That will be in a.
I haven't reviewed it yet,
Okay.
but
Next
Well,
meeting.
it should be reviewed because this is a critical thing. They wanna know what the contract is. If we review the contract after we send it out for responses, we can always send out
an
an
addendum.
addendum and say, we changed the
Maureen.
contract.
Yeah, I imagine
You
we'll
use
go
the
with theirs,
DCAM
but,
contract?
I rely frankly on Maureen's expertise.
Take a
that-
look.
So, can we
See if
say
she notes
that?
anything.
DCAM is pretty
Michael,
good.
that you will review the contract, you and Maureen will review contract? Okay, sorry, TJ,
No,
The contract will be included in the whole.
As part of the bid,
RFS
yeah.
package.
has to be,
All right, can I ask one thing?
sure.
So once you have the time to do all this, to get the verbiage out for the ad, or however you're gonna do it, are you giving the people 30 days to say if it went out on September 1st, the ad?
Oh, you're looking for the timetable?
Yeah, are you giving them 30 days?
Do you
I
have-
know I didn't bring it, that's why.
Okay, well, for those of you that have it with you, or if you can share with Roberta, on page 6 of 20
Okay,
is the entire timetable.
okay. Yeah,
We're
So-
gonna have,
okay, so
That
giving
was
it 3
assuming
weeks.
we're gonna go out on
That's
the,
quick.
advertise on the 17th,
Oh, no.
but we may go later. Okay, so.
Giving it a month.
To answer your question, we give them a month.
Okay,
And I've also got a date in there for a walkthrough of the building,
Mm-hmm.
because Julie is really good at this, and she'll be able to show again. And I've also, oh, that, we have to put that in there, what the time and places.
so
for that.
2 months for a
Okay.
contract.
And I also have a date
Vacation,
in
so it's
there
not
for
getting
the last
executed.
day
I'll
that
tell
they
you
can
that
come
right
in
now.
with
Yeah,
questions.
back
The day
So
before
December 5th.
Thanksgiving, that's probably the day before
The day
Thanksgiving,
that they're
right?
due.
Yeah, I spent Thanksgiving in Florida.
can I ask, is there gonna be a legal review of this contract? Is school attorneys or town council gonna
That's
look at
Mike
it?
and I will make sure that
Well,
we can.
if we see something that catches our eye, again, it's like so many other things, that this is the contract that the MSBA has
Right.
indicated they prefer, so we don't wanna stray too far from them, otherwise we have trouble with them.
I know, but just, not all of us are attorneys.
Well,
We gotta do what they want us to do if we want
And
the
I'm
money.
right, and I'm happy to read all this, but I read this all the time.
this is the standard contract that I've seen in other projects where, that the MSBA.
Well, there's a responder date and comment
I
period.
never do
Negotiate
things unless I
with
have an
selected
attorney look at it.
responders. So if they come back
Just
with
my-
comments, then
yeah.
we need
It
to.
typically-
make some
$1
effort
project.
and-
Typically,
Well,
what we
Jason,
do, Rick, is we say to our council, there is an MSB standard contract, council knows that. Our council, we're fortunate enough, represents over 100 municipalities, so they've seen the standard contract.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
And when we ask them, they say, well, sometimes they say, send it anyway. Other times they say, no, it's okay, we've reviewed that contract for 28 different communities. There's no sense us charging you to review that contract another time.
Or here's
So-
the things we found that you wanna pay
Right,
attention to.
here's the things that we think you
Right.
should pay attention to. Usually, they're pretty good about that and pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah, I would imagine.
Maureen, what you thinking?
No, I was just
Should we
giving
put that
her
under legal?
Oh, no, what am I
Yeah.
thinking? No,
I can hear you way down here, what's going on?
I was just listening to Mike.
Okay.
I always do. When the final package is complete, if town council wants the entire thing to look forward, make sure that we have dotted our i's and crossed our t's,
Mhm.
we will, because there's nothing I want ever to face in my life is any sort of protest or,
I agree with you.
put Stoughton in a bad light to say, oh, they did a shoddy job on that, so I'm very particular about my contract
Mhm.
documents and how they go out and what they.
I'm
So
willing
that's
to-
what you was thinking, okay.
That was, I was thinking in my
I'm
mind.
willing to bet that if we ended up modifying the MSBA contract, we'd probably get a protest from a bunch of these guys saying this isn't the MSBA contract.
Let's don't do that. We don't need that.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we have to act within those confines,
Yeah.
because they pretty well dictate,
Yeah, they've defined it.
what we do, as they pretty much dictated the composition of this committee.
Exactly.
Same thing.
Okay, so we'll tweak it a bit, and we're all set, we've accepted it as is, and Maureen will
Well, yeah.
put in your hands to,
One of the things I have to do before it goes out on the street, I have to give a summary, I have to start my narrative to the MSBA as the MCPPO designated on this committee.
Mhm.
So if I write you an email and say, I need a little bio on you, on why you were important to the makeup of this committee, don't be offended, I have to give the information to them.
Okay.
And that's just on the subcommittee, because they wanted to make sure that
you and I
the
are
people on the
fantastic.
subcommittee.
I dodged that bullet.
Can we go with that?
Well, all of you were vetted before you were appointed.
Right.
Yeah, that's their process.
So I have a
Only a
whole,
little.
I have a whole book I have to do for them, in addition to that.
Maureen, are we gonna have to actually get written approval of this RFS from the, I didn't read it that way. I just read that they wanna review it 2 weeks before you send it out.
Well, they wanted, yeah, they wanted. to
Which
send
is
it to us.
actually yesterday, I'll point out.
Well, it's true, so, we can delay it a week or two, that's fine. Right now, we've got a lot happening around Thanksgiving, I'm not sure we wanna actually do that. But, we don't wanna wait until like January, if we can get it
Let's
in early December.
delay a little bit and do it right, though.
That's fine, I'm not pushing it, I'm just saying, we have the time, I wanna take the time and effort, I don't wanna annoy the MSBA.
Yeah.
You-
I don't either.
Well, we wanna get it in and somehow done before, if we don't get it done
We
before
have time.
Thanksgiving, then we wanna get it done before,
Mhm.
like, the Christmas holidays, because then,
Everybody disappears.
so we'll make sure that we'll put up a schedule that works.
Okay.
I'm assuming there's no business until at least October?
Yeah, do we have a date on that, please?
The next task for this committee would be to wait until after we advertise and see what comes in, maybe discuss anything, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
So we can send out the final document, once
Okay.
it's all done and tweaked. And then we'll have a revised procurement schedule, and then we can pick a meeting in there. What do you think about Thursday nights? Is this-
Thursday's good. I don't have any meetings on Thursday.
Actually, I've kinda set it up so it comes out on Thursdays.
Right.
As long as I get out before
But,
scandal.
TJ, I think if you take a look at page, what was it, did I say, 6?
I'm on it right now.
Yeah, it says that the next time that this committee will meet, they have to meet, is interview the shortlisted responders, which I have is November 10th, and that'll change to some other Thursday, so that'll be the next time this committee meets.
Oh, so November.
November
10th's not a
11th is
Thursday,
holiday.
it's a Monday.
Well, I'm not, the subcommittee might meet during, in the next 2 or 3 weeks if you think there's a reason for it, but right now,
So November 10th's gonna be a problem, it's a Monday.
well, that's if we follow my schedule, but Maureen
Okay.
wants to wait and make sure everything is
Yeah.
proper, so that's
Probably gonna be
done.
moved up at least a week.
I figure Thanksgiving Day,
Ha. It's a Thursday, ha.
a Thursday.
I just wanted to get a ballpark. So, we're not expected to be here in a couple of weeks, it's more like a couple of months.
Yep, mid-November.
It's more likely to be early December.
I
think we should always be prepared to be here.
Always.
Interview the list of responders.
Okay.
and answer.
Yeah, it'll be before Thanksgiving.
So let me ask a question, just so I understand. When all of the responses come back, are they just going to the subcommittee? And
Well,
we will do the first.
That's an
vetting?
interesting question, because I've asked for 13
Right.
copies, that's one for every member of the committee. But the subcommittee gets their copies first, and the others actually get put aside. And then when we do our, subcommittee does this evaluation, and we pick the top 3 to 5 responders, then we go back to that file, we put aside, and we pull the ones for the top 3 to 5.
Well, I'm just
And then we
asking
have to
if
give them
everybody
out.
wanted those.
Well, that's an interesting question.
Well,
Does
I
everybody
guess-
wanna see them all?
First, I need to have you establish, Maureen, because there have been questions in the past. Typically, when they're submitted, regardless of whether or not they go to all the members of the committee, they are not, in fact, public
They're not
documents.
public documents.
And that needs to be stressed, is that,
Right.
these proposals are part of a deliberative process and therefore are not available to anybody off this committee.
I agree.
All right.
Good to me.
So do you just want the shortlisted,
I think
I
so.
don't mind giving them to everybody. Is everybody okay with getting
I'm
them?
good with
Yeah,
that.
why wouldn't we?
Then we might put our nose in it, we're
15
not
of them?
in the subcommittee.
Yeah.
Sharing with your
I
kids?
just wanna see what's going
No,
on.
Yeah.
let's be a disclosure.
Oh, that's right, forget it. Maybe my son will get a job and
So
move
I'm
out of my
gonna say
house.
when they
It
do
could be
come
good.
in,
Could be
that,
lucky.
Will be
Then we'll
electronic or
propose to
hard
distribute it
copy.
to everyone.
Either that, or you could just distribute to those who wanna see them. You know, some committee members, I get the strong impression from Roberta that she doesn't want them all.
Well, I just think that I might say, geez, I know this, I don't wanna put my nose in, I'm not on the subcommittee.
Right.
I'm leaving it, I put my faith in the
But
subcommittee.
if you see one from somebody you dealt with, we.
But then when
we
it
know
came
that.
time to the true vote, I could say, hey,
I mean, because they're not public record,
Right.
I've
So
done
you
it
would
before
know
where you
and
get
would
one
probably
copy,
alleviate some
goes to
issues
one
that
central
we may have
location.
going
but
on.
I only know
Anybody
who
that
we
wants to
dealt
go
with
see
over
it
there.
goes to that one central
Yeah.
location.
Save printing and all that stuff.
Well, I'll defer to the committee on that,
That
I
way you
wanted
keep
everybody
it-
to understand they're not a
it's
public
under
document.
control.
Typical response for something like this, 5, 10?
No, you're gonna get about anywhere from 10 to 15.
For example, TJ, when we did the feasibility study for the police station, we got, what, 11?
11.
Right, and that was a pretty small feasibility study.
yeah, but could you
Uh,
nix
this
half of
is-
them right away?
And when you come down to it for
Or were
an
they all
OPM,
good?
this is the best stuff,
They're all good.
the best
They were all-
contract that
they were all
OPM can
rated.
get in public.
All 11 of them were rated.
That
So
makes
you're
it
gonna
tough.
get a lot of people
And we
that
cut
will
it down
be
to
coming
5, I
out.
think, the interview.
Well, I
5
mean,
or 6.
I'd love to see them, but at the same time, if, it's more important for the subcommittee to see them, and I defer to the rest of the committee on whether or not you wanna.
Could it be kept in a location, or is that too
Well, I
think
burdensome?
that's a good idea.
You know,
It would be in the procurement office.
We could keep them in the procurement office, and if one of you wanted to just stop by and pick up them because you were
The hard
bored.
copies?
Yeah, the hard copies.
I prefer to have a soft copy of 15 of those things. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna stop in the procurement office and read 50.
Yeah.
Once you get used to the
proposals.
iPad,
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
want any paper ever
I'm
again.
sorry.
Really?
You're gonna get them all.
Okay.
You're gonna get them all hard, yes, I'm
Okay, that's
sorry.
fine.
Nice
Just
try.
wanted
Because they won't, we're
Right,
gonna
I
ask for them
understand.
electronically.
Right, that we're gonna get a, okay.
Well, we've asked for them electronically, so there will be like a massive PDF file
Right.
that go on
Which
our.
you might not
mailbox.
be able to.
Well, individual.
My mailbox,
by
yeah.
contract or
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
bid, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But you
Which
might
can
not
go
be
on
able
your
to
iPad.
open them
Like you
because they
say, the
might be-
problem with the big committee,
Big.
too
Yeah,
many
it could be.
Won't come
Well,
through.
that's why
They will be
Access
full.
photos.
They
Yeah.
won't be, they might not be able to come
Yeah,
through.
yeah, I know.
All right, so the committee has agreed that the submitted proposals will be distributed to everyone who wants one.
Mhm.
Can we leave it at that?
Yeah.
Okay. And the next, building, meeting of the full building committee will be the meeting where we're evaluating the selected responders,
Mhm.
whenever that is.
Okay.
And we're looking at sometime in November, December.
Okay.
Right, we'll shortlist and then everybody will get a copy of the shortlisted.
Okay, this sounds,
Yeah.
okay.
By the way, those interviews will take a long time. You usually figure about an hour. We have 5 people. We're gonna have to interview five, that'll be 5 hours. Oftentimes, they split it up into 2 nights.
Mhm.
Okay, but it just, if there's only 3, you might be able to do 3. We can start at like 5 o'clock.
Thursday, Friday.
5, 6, and 7, and then at 8 o'clock, we can convene and everybody can say who they
Yeah.
like or don't like. And then he can come back and say why we should be doing this or not doing this.
We're gonna do
And I'm
it
gonna
that
argue
like
with
they
him.
tell us
No,
to
I
do.
just, my position is that we decide in the beginning, before we start, how we score them. And again, Joel's approach is that if you've got 5 candidates, they must be compared against each other and measured 1 through 5.
That's my approach.
And my approach is, if you've got 5 candidates and 2 of them are worthless, they don't get anything.
That's my approach.
And
But
that
they'll be
you're
down
you're
to
measuring them
4 or
on an
5.
That makes sense.
absolute.
That
Yeah,
makes
but they'll be in the
sense.
bottom of the
Subjective.
list.
What empirical data do you have that says they're worthless? I mean, how do you,
You're using the criteria
Right.
we talked about.
okay. all
In other
right,
words,
so-
you will get some responses, as he indicated, that are simply not responsive.
Right.
Oh, sure.
You know, 'cause when you set up what's responsive. So my position's always been is if you can't read our proposal to know what you're supposed to respond to,
But
I'm not gonna waste my time.
We called that out though, in the
Right.
request, so we,
Right.
matter of fact, on purpose. So
Right.
if we've asked for X, Y, and Z and you gave us X,
You
You're
eliminate it, yeah.
Right.
When I get these in, I'll tell you what my standard, operating procedures are. I create a checklist
Mhm.
and say,
Oh, she does, I forgot that.
did they do this? And I go through and say, Did they follow instructions on the submittal? Is everything in the order? I check it off. Did they give me everything that I asked for in there? And I check it out, and it's a little more elaborate than this.
Mhm.
If they don't meet the basic contractual items requested in the
Don't waste your
form,
time.
they're non-responsive.
They're not responsive and they can't be considered.
That's
I agree
good.
with that.
That makes sense.
Yep. Do you notify them of that, or?
Yeah, you have to-
Not until the end,
Okay, when you make a selection.
right.
till when we look
Committee.
at it, because there could be something that I might say, well, you know, they didn't give me this form, but it's a minor informality,
Mhm.
and we don't wanna discount them because they didn't give us the W-9 or something like that, or if it's something that's,
So it wouldn't be like penmanship or something?
no, then
Oddly enough, I've actually been on
It
designer
says they have to
selection
type it.
boards where one of the criteria is the quality of the proposal.
I.
I've never been able to figure that one out.
I think that's huge.
Oh, come on.
It's huge
Really?
because that person's gonna have to make a public presentation.
And it's,
And
and
if
how
they don't have
particular
the
you
polished
are.
skills that you need to sell it,
Well, that's different. I'm talking about the actual proposal that they submit.
Yeah, but if you're all precise and everything else, that type of person, it tells a lot about your personality.
Yeah.
Very organized and
doing these a
detailed,
while,
you're very
they can-
detailed, you're very detailed.
You know,
A lot of
Pat,
this
so-
boilerplate for these guys.
oh no, Rick,
Exactly.
you'd be surprised. We got 11 for police and they're all well-established, long-standing firms, and some of them you'd say, what is this?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I put in when I give the instruction to bidders on how it needs to
Mhm.
be fulfilled, is that you will be evaluated on the quality of your submittal. Because I think they should be able to follow directions if they can't rely on that, they have to follow directions.
thank God we had the foresight to hire a procurement officer.
She makes me say that too many times. We all set, TJ?
If there's nothing else, motion to adjourn?
Yep.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Bye.